Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we are taking our first look at the Pensacola. Finally! After all these years, and all these years I mean literally just the first year. I played this ship a long time ago, wasn't a fan. I do love the ship, but it's so infuriating to play. But without further ado, let's get into the commander. We've got Norman Scott, we've got Isoroku Yamamoto, and we've got Nikolai Kuznetsov. We've got Beyond Range, we've got Igniter, we've got Punch Through, we've got Fixated, and we've got Fully Packed. This one probably could be switched out for this, but, you know, it's up to you. Legendary 3, obviously, because Norman Scott's my main man for my my American heavy cruisers. So yeah, the ship itself, we've got our aiming systems mod 1 and we've got steering gears mod 2. This is something that it definitely comes in handy. I definitely do not recommend propulsion mod on your American cruisers, just due to the fact that you need the maneuverability to dodge incoming rounds. Now, we've got we've got our permanent camo on here. We had the beta flag on here. That's how long it's been since I've actually been in this thing. We've got five planes due to our fully packed consumable, but we get 3 sonars as well. Stats, we've got 32,700 hit points with a 4% damage reduction in torpedoes. You do not take torpedoes in this thing. Just don't do it. Artillery, it's got 10 203mm guns that are absolutely fantastic. It's got a technically heavier broadside than the Baltimore or the New Orleans because they only get 9. But the reload time, not the greatest, 15 seconds. 180-degree turn time, not the greatest at 45 seconds. It's actually pretty slow. But the HE shell damage is pretty good, 2,800, and the chance to set fire pretty good, 17%. AP shell damage is 5,060, which is really, really good. The secondary armaments, it's got a few 127mm guns, reload every 4.7 seconds, and they fire HE with a 12% chance to set fires. So if you have to actually use your secondaries, they do work. But you don't want to be relying on them because there ain't that many of them. Now, maximum speed, 33.5 knots, so she does move pretty well. Turning circle radius is 620 meters, so that would lead you to believe that it's not amazing, but at the same time, it's actually deceptively good. You'll see that in the video coming up. Concealment. Detectability by sea is 11.2. That's not bad, not amazing, but not bad. Detectability by air, 7 kilometers. Guaranteed is always 2, and detectability while firing in smoke is only 6.5, which is pretty good for a cruiser. Sticky shot, reduced ricochet chance. That's the American AP that you like. You get that extra armor penetration angle. And then guns aplenty, it has 10 guns, so it has more than most, which is pretty nasty. And then the compromising armor, it has enough armor to really do well, but it also has enough armor to arm a lot of battleships' main batteries. And that is why this ship has the nickname of the Floating Citadel of Sadness, because just when you think you're having a good game, it ends in a heartbeat. So, the first U.S. Navy cruiser built under the limitations of the Washington Naval Treaty, with powerful artillery but weak armor, which was characteristic of such ships. The cruiser was armed with 203mm main batteries, and on the basis of which she was redesigned as a heavy cruiser soon after commissioning. However, the ship's armor actually corresponded to that of a light cruiser. Entered service in 1930, and there were 2 of them built. Or at least 2 in the series. I'm not sure if 2 were built. But, yeah. She's a good ship. She really is. She's a good-looking ship. You got the old school, like, what do you call that? Lattice mast or whatever? But, yeah. It's a good-looking ship. It's a very good ship until somebody hits you with big guns. And then bad things happen to you. But as you can see, we've got that permanent camo that is absolutely fantastic. I like this more than the regular camo. This is just sexy as hell. Always like it. And they've got the stars on the front of the ship so that the flag is always charging forward. Well, in theory. As long as the commander is not going in reverse. But yeah, I like that a lot. So, without further ado, let's get to the gameplay. Alrighty, so we are on Haven, and we're in a domination match. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is that the majority of the enemy is cruisers, and this is an absolute feeding frenzy for Pensacola. But that being said, we're not going to get into too many fights with cruisers, unfortunately. Because as much as I would love to just get out there and paddle the crap out of the cruisers, we're going to have the unfortunate ending of finding all of their battleships at one point or another. So it's going to be a touch-and-go game for us. Now, this isn't the best game I've ever had in a Pensacola. I've had much better games, especially in ranked battles. Ranked battles, this thing is very, very good. The only downside to the Pensacola is the fact that anytime a battleship touches you, you tend to take Citadel hits. And that is no joke. Whether you're bow tanking, whether you're stern tanking, whether you're catching them broadside, this ship gets Citadeled more than just about any other ship in the game. Which is why it is called the Floating Citadel of Sadness. Now, this seems to have been reduced slightly since the last time I played this ship. However, it is still a very real reality. It is definitely something you do not want to be giving opportunities to the enemy to, citadel you. Now, we're going to go ahead and fire the guns here, get all the shots out on the Nuremberg right off the bat, and hopefully get some good hits, and we get our first Citadel of the game right there, just showing you how good these guns are. They take a little while to get to the target, but if you're in close quarters, like, these guns are absolutely insanely good. And like I said, this thing technically has one extra gun than the New Orleans or the Baltimore, so it has a better broadside, even if the rounds aren't as good as the Baltimore's super heavy round. But they're still very, very good and fully capable of dishing out a paddling. Especially to broadside ships, and even unsuspecting lightly armored battleships like the Mutsu, as we're about to punch him in the mouth for about, 6,000 damage from maximum range. So not too shabby. And then just when we think that's going to be a thing, the Pensacola decides he wants to come around the corner. Now, this is going to showcase my lack of using the ship for a while, and not really knowing where I need to hit the Pensacola. But normally, a Pensacola sailing like this just gets obliterated, period. Like, this is death. If you're in a Pensacola, whether it's me giving him this much angle to get all the guns to fire, or him giving me this much angle to shoot him with. Like, we are both in very precarious positions. Now, I'm getting a lot of overpins, as you can see. So, maybe that's just the armor fix coming in. But as you can see, somebody behind me didn't get any overpins, and they absolutely walloped him. And he's not long for this world, not with this much firepower against him, and as you can see, pop goes the weasel. Now, there's a smoke screen ahead of us, which I believe has an emerald in it, so we're going to go ahead and charge said smoke screen, and then the absolute worst thing that you could possibly run into is a Queen Elizabeth. Luckily for me, this Queen Elizabeth doesn't understand that he can fire armor-piercing rounds, and his armor-piercing rounds are extremely good against cruisers. But, if he's not going to realize it, I'm not going to tell him. So, yeah, that Queen Elizabeth is fully capable of absolutely deleting me in one salvo while I'm bow tanking him. And you can see we've got our sonar running, expecting torpedoes from this smoke screen up ahead. And I'm not going to lie, you're going to get to see a little bit of finessing here as we get in between. And I actually decided to make it a little bit, scarier than it needed to be. But you can see we managed to get out all right, not taking a single one of those torpedoes. And while the guy in front of us is firing armor piercing at us because he's a British cruiser and that's all he has, he's also not doing much of anything to me because I'm facing him with my armor. So he's really struggling to get any real damage. However, he is parked broadside on, angled slightly, and this is why you don't do it. 20,000 damage done, 4 citadels in a single salvo from a cruiser. Yeah. That's the difference between American armor piercing and British armor piercing. Of course, if I'd have gave him the full broadside, he was more than capable of hitting similar numbers on me, though he reloads much quicker. So, it's all about positioning, guys. And you're going to see I'm a little tentative here because I know that if I charge this Queen Elizabeth and he for some reason decides, you know what, this HE's nice, but I want to try out the armor piercing. He will delete me. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. That thing is so accurate with its guns. It's got 15-inch guns, and that armor piercing is absolutely disgusting. And the fact that it's short fuse armor piercing means absolute certain death for most cruisers. So you just don't want to take a chance with a Queen Elizabeth. A lot of other battleships, you will take those chances because when they fire their armor piercing, it's almost always going to overpin you. Unless, of course, you're angled or you're bow tanking and you can get penetrated through the deck armor and that sort of thing. It's just, you got to watch that. Now, Gaid here pulls out, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to shoot a couple rounds of armor piercing at him because my plan is to kill the Galicianeer. I'm not really looking to kill the Gaid at this point. But if he offers himself to me, I will do it. Now here, I'm loaded. I've got nobody to shoot at other than him, so I'm just going to go ahead and dump these rounds, even though I know it's going to do next to nothing. And then we're going to switch to high explosive, because we're struggling to get the damage that I would like to see off of the Queen Elizabeth, but we're also needing to finish off both the Galicianeer and the Gaid. And Galicianeer has great spaced armor, but has very little health. And I try to take the first shot, and unfortunately, we just don't quite manage to get him. We get one shell on him, and it was a penetration, but we weren't able to finish him off. And the Gaid is smoking up for some reason. There's no way he was detected. Like, he just decided he freaked out and smoked. Maybe it's a diversionary tactic, and it does kind of work, allowing him to get away. But yeah, this time, Galicianeer, I apologize, but you are not getting away with this any longer. You cannot sit in front of me for so long and expect to survive. Now here is where I make the wrong choice. I choose to keep the AG loaded, thinking that the Gaid was going to come out of the smoke screen. And this is why I say if this was a diversionary tactic, then it was a very good one because it worked. I was afraid that he would come out, and I needed to have the right round loaded for him. And we need to dodge all of these. As you can see, we just barely squeeze our ship into the gaps. And we set a fire. Now, he's going to put those fires out, but because this thing takes so long to reload, by the time we get our shells loaded and back-oriented to fire the guns, his damage control is already burned out and it's on cooldown, which means the next fire that we set is going to be a permanent one because he's not got enough health to survive it. And if we can manage to... Oh my god! Why are we going broadside? Yep, that's what you need to avoid. We took a single round and it was a Citadel. Yeah, you don't want to be doing that. But as you can see, Fuso not long for this world. Even with the HE is very good, as you've seen before. HE with the Wichita, with the New Orleans, which Baltimore, they're all very good. 203 HE is nasty. As we get him off the board. Now, I am terrified of this Mutsu right now because 16-inch guns don't play well with me. Plus the fact that he has World War I era shells, meaning he doesn't get as many overpins as you would expect him to. If he hits, he tends to do damage, or he bounces and shatters. Now, we do get the fire on him. Unfortunately, he's going to put that out pretty quick. But we are more focused on getting rid of this destroyer. Now, we have 3 caps. They don't have a single cap, so we are going to win this fight. And as you can see, I checked the torpedoes, knew they weren't going to be in the way. However, the next torpedo warning is definitely sent my direction. Luckily, this Gaid is just like, I'm going to send everything in wide salvos so that even a blind man could find their way through. Yeah, I don't know why people do this. Now, I assumed initially that he was going to be out here. But then I realized that I need to start turning back away towards the corner of the map because I want to push up against the map far enough that I would be able to detect him. I know it's a Gaid. His detectability is probably going to be the 5.5 to 6 kilometer range. This is where it plays to know your ships, guys. I cannot stress it enough. Know what you're up against because we know it's a Gaid. We know it, generally speaking, has around 6 kilometer detection range. Now, there are some people like me that manage to get the German detection range way down to, like, right there with the Japanese at 5 kilometers. But I don't think that most people do that. And so, most of the time, if you get to that 6 kilometer range and you'll see, well, how do you know you're 6 kilometers from the edge, Spartan? Well, there's a simple way to do that. You range yourself. You have guns, and if you point your guns at something, it'll give you the range, right? So you can point your guns at the edge of the map and go, okay, I'm approximately 6.5 kilometers away. That leaves them a very narrow portion to get away. But as you can see, I've made the right choice because the torpedoes are still coming at me, luckily in wide salvos, and he's just not able to land any hits. It's not very difficult to dodge torpedoes, especially in a cruiser with steering gear modifications, when they've got such wide angles. Then he makes the mistake of firing at me because the game is almost over. He knows it was 920 points, so this game's almost over. And then I'm going to absolutely struggle here to hit him because I'm an absolute doofus when it comes to firing these guns. It's been so long since I played this that my lead times were not perfect. It's not like I'm in the Balti and I know exactly where I need to aim for everything, or the Iowa, or you know what I'm saying. So there's a little bit of margin for error, but you can see I get my guns on target in the second salvo, and we punch them pretty good. And just as we get this last salvo here, come on, are we gonna finish him? A very good salvo, and that looks nasty. Yep. Oh God, he took it. He took it on the chin, unfortunately, and that's gonna do it before we get reloaded. But I think we did pretty well. It showcased both the strengths and the weaknesses of the ship. I hope you guys have enjoyed. I know it's been a long time coming. We've needed to get this video out for a very long time. 2,300 base XP, bringing in 252,000 silver. I think I may have accidentally had a credits booster on there. But if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.